You could have
Right.
words that are impactful, make sense,
Could I
and
have
then
a could I have a picture of Saggar like on my mirror, like all glowing?
You should. You should. I'm very inspiring. I'm
Like
very
that's
inspiring
what
to
I
him.
aspire to
I'm a
be.
big part of his success, actually. So it's.
what I think is I need a picture of Dr. Sutter on my
Uh,
We all do. We all do. Really.
so now that we've meditated,
with
Clinton's gonna start the
we've
interview. Go with.
envisioned, and I'd like to welcome everyone to Recommended Daily Dose. I am your host, Dr. Clinton Coleman, along with a special guest host, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. With
Hey, that's
sorry,
not right, man.
sorry,
That's profiling.
my
That's profiling.
apologies. It is profiling, especially when we have the first African American vice president candidate.
Asian American as well. We're gonna
Okay,
have.
see,
We're gonna
all
have
right,
fun
we have to
talking
talk
about
about
that.
that.
We are
This is
definitely.
Dr. Suraj Saggar.
But more importantly, our guest today.
Right, we have an esteemed guest. You may have seen her on ABC, NBC, Oxygen, The View. I recently saw her on the cover of 201 magazine. This Miss Adel Wilson. She is a celebrity media coach and marketing strategist. She's also an award-winning TV host, best-selling author. You can see her book there, Celebrity Media Secrets. She's also founder of Celebrity Media Group. So we'd like to welcome you here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be with both of you today. I am excited. So
As are we. As are we.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to start off with your background because it's a very interesting background. So your parents were very influential in you growing up. Your dad, who was
Yeah.
one of the pioneers, in medicine in Washington Heights, he's one of the first Dominican doctors there.
Mm.
Yeah.
How did your
One of
parents
the doctors in the U.S. actually.
in the U.S. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
How did your parents influence you, and what made you not want to become a doctor instead of doing what you're doing now? I think you probably made the right decision at the end of the day, but how was your childhood growing up with such wonderful parents?
Thank you so much, and thank you for taking a moment to honor my parents. I lost my dad recently to complications from COVID about 4 months ago. Dr. James Wilson was my best friend and my everything, and my mother and my father were married for 54 years prior to his passing almost 5 months ago.
Sorry.
Thank you. You guys are gonna have your Oprah moment. You're gonna get me to cry before the second question.
No, we don't want you to cry. But you have. You
No,
have
no.
to. You have to.
You won't be the first to cry on the show.
No. So thank you for that. My parents were hugely influential. It's almost like how did they were the most influential people, and still are the most influential people in my life. They very much were about walking the talk. There's a lot of parents that kind of say, do as I say, not as I do. But we grew up watching them work so hard. They put an emphasis, it's myself and my 4 older brothers, an emphasis on education, the importance of education, the importance not so much of becoming what they are, a doctor or in the medical field, but to do whatever you do well.
Right.
Right.
And to do it with integrity, and to love what you do, and to do it with passion, and to have the education as a foundation for it. And so, my parents are just amazing people. I dedicate my 7th step in my book, Making a Difference, to my parents, because they taught us not only through hard work, but also through philanthropy, giving back. My father never turned away a patient. Never, never, never. If they couldn't pay, that was okay. He gave them the same amount of attention that he would his private patients.
Sure.
And sometimes they would say, Doc, I'll come back with the money. And sometimes they didn't, sometimes they didn't. And it was okay. It was his life calling. And my mother, same way, because she ran his practice. And so we grew up in, like a medical family. And so my aunts and uncles were all of my parents' friends, which were typically other physicians. And to answer your question about why did I not pursue it, I almost did pursue it. That would have been a mistake because I have
I
an
second
aversion.
that. I mean, just from the medical
What's
field,
that?
not because I second that, not because
You second not
of
because
your
of
talent.
me.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, because you found your passion where it lies now, I
Right.
think, and that's the key thing. But it's hard to because if you substitute Indian for Dominican, then your story is very similar to mine in terms of father coming over, mother running a practice, influencing, and having just influenced me to continue in the medicine. But I like what you said about education, because I find that's a very unique thing, especially with immigrants. Is that no matter what, if they came here educated or not, they want to make sure that their kids understand the value of education. And then, like you said, whatever you happen to do it well. But I think that's a unifying part of a lot of the immigrant experience I've seen.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. And so, and a lot of people used to think that because it is natural, like if you're Dominican or a lot of the immigrant experiences, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, maybe an engineer, but at least those top two. And so in my family, I have filmmakers and CEOs. And so none of us went into the medical field.
Tradition, right.
Traditional, so in pharmaceutical research. I was in pharma for a little bit. And so my master's degree is in psychology. So there's that. But when I was a kid growing up, that's what I thought I wanted to be. I thought I wanted to be, I wanted to host a show and I wanted to be a doctor.
Right.
And I think it was in part because of all of the beautiful admiration that I saw my parents equally receive when we would walk in New York City. People would say, oh, you're Dr. Wilson's daughter. Oh, my gosh. And he's so amazing. And he cured my son of this. And he did this for my mom. And I still run into people, and when he passed, I had this outpouring of love. And so I thank you to all of the patients and friends that reached out. But feeling that admiration, I said, I kind of want that. And so I said, well, I guess that means I have to become a doctor. But I love the beauty business, hence I'm a media coach. So I love everything image driven, right? And so I thought I wanted to become a dermatologist. So my dad's like, all right, sure. You want to become a dermatologist? Here's this book on dermatological diseases. The most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
You thought you were going to see just a lot of beautiful skin. You saw the exact opposite, right? So.
Yes, I thought, I'm going to open up like a Medi Spa. It's going to be all beautiful. It's like, no, but you need to go through this first before you do that. And I'm like, well, we're going to cross off dermatology for now. And I'm like, well, what's next? Psychiatry. He said, okay, that's great, but you have to go through medical school and you're going to have to deal with all of these things. So I said, okay, no problem. So one summer we were in Dominican Republic. My cousin was in medical school. She's now an internist in Miami. And she's giving me a tour. And I saw a cadaver floating in formaldehyde at the medical school.
Yeah, those are the days.
That's normal.
I died.
Yeah.
I died and came back to like, that's not, see, that's what my dad said, it's normal. That's normal.
Yeah, you end up smelling like it your whole first year of med school. So you just get used to it, to be honest, so.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So that looks like you had a unique transition away from medicine. What led you towards media?
So I went from medical school, dermatology, psychiatry to psychology because I said, what can I do that I don't have to do anatomy and physiology, but still deal with behavior? And so I did that. But as a kid growing up, I was always involved in plays and doing and modeling. My mom put me in a pageant when I was 5 years old. So I was really into that, and my brothers as well. And so I graduated. I went to NYU. I went to Columbia. I wanted to say, here, mom and dad, the immigrant experience. I want to give you the top education.
So you want to check off those boxes so they feel happy, right? Okay, my daughter went to school.
Check them off, right? Check.
I hear that.
And then I said, now I'm going to do what I want to do. And so within a month, I had booked a TV show, hosting my own show as a bilingual. It was a bilingual entertainment show. So it's partly in Spanish and partly in English.
Sure.
And then I started doing trainings as a corporate trainer. So instead of the actress or host pounding the pavement and doing like waitressing on the side, I said my dad would kill me if I did that, but let me put my education to good use. So I would teach.
Yeah.
And so in between auditions and in between shows and shoots, I would do training. So I taught over 14,000 people over the years doing that.
But did you do some acting as well?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because Clinton actually has an interest in acting. What do you want to do again, Clinton?
I've been in a few movies. I've been in
on the
shows.
shows.
So.
You actually have a very good look for the movies.
I see.
Both.
See, I think she was talking to me. Actually, that's fine. All right, continue.
Watch out, Denzel.
I see you both. And it would be, I could see a little drama. I could see you both on like General Hospital. I could see you doing
General,
that.
that's my wife's favorite like mindless thing. You know, she works very hard. She went to Columbia as well.
Yes.
She's in finance and marketing, but when she wants to just like veg out, she will watch General Hospital all day, you know, all night long. It's amazing to me. It's just mindless to her, but she loves it.
It is a little mindless.
So if you could get me on there as a guest appearance, like a doctor just walking in the background,
Yes.
I think I would be a big hit in our house, you know. So
I feel like we could hook that up. I mean, I didn't do any soaps in Hollywood because I kind of refused to. All of my coaches always said, all right, Adele, you've done a lot in New York. It's time to go to LA. And I'm such a Jersey girl, but with that New York spirit, that I'm like, I don't think I could get used to it. But yeah, so, you know, I've done voiceovers and I did work both in English and Spanish, a zillion commercials, voiceovers I did. Your Wife Might Like One Life to Live on ABC,
Sure.
All Children. I played a doctor actually on One Life to Live.
wow.
That was the closest I got. I'm like, Dad, I'm wearing the stethoscope.
So you got a stethoscope.
Take a
You know,
picture. Yeah. So yes, to a number of years of doing that and pounding the pavement at the
Right.
same training, and so yeah, it's been great for a lot of well-known brands. So you name it, car commercials.
But I think that's a good segment, you know, because we're talking about medicine, we're talking about media. Like, what are your thoughts on physicians in the media? Because, you know, I think a lot of physicians, us included, you know, sometimes, you know, we're not looking to be famous, right? Our thought has always been, and I'm sure a lot of physicians out there, that if you can take your knowledge and use media as a way to expand your audience, not because you're trying to really just become famous, because you really feel passionate about what we do, right? Whether it's nephrology, infectious disease, of course now with COVID, but we have a lot of academic interest that we feel, hey, we're very passionate about. And, you know, we found the podcast as a way of reaching an audience and also for personal growth. Both of us do a lot of media and medical reporting, which has been, you know, good for our careers, but also we feel like, hey, we're able to reach a larger audience. But what are your thoughts on that? Because, I mean, I think sometimes we're conflicted, like, you know, should we be doing this? You know, are we taking time away from our patients? Is it okay? You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. And I think the moment that we're living through right now with the pandemic, who is more important than the voice of a physician in the media right now?
Well, it depends if you ask. It depends. You know, some politicians might disagree.
That's what you ask, right?
Yeah.
Well, but you're asking a media coach, and you're also asking the daughter of a doctor. And so, and also someone, I worked in the healthcare field for a number of years. So I used to do marketing and conferences for one of the top academic institutions in New York City. And so working through their CME conferences and all of that good stuff. And I think it's of paramount importance. There would be, I can't imagine the void that would exist if we didn't have doctors in the media like yourselves providing information as to what we should be doing on a daily basis, how we should be keeping our families safe and healthy. You know, some people, obviously right now, even folks that aren't feeling well don't want to go to the doctor.
Sure, right.
So you are our lifeline. And you know, I want to thank you both and thank all of the doctors and nurses and healthcare workers, for being on the front lines. This is the most important time to have your voices heard and to, you know, if you feel like you have something to say about what's happening socially, I think doctors have that social responsibility to talk about what their beliefs are and their perspectives, and they're coming from a different angle. So I think not to have a voice would be the irresponsible thing. If you have the platform, use it and absolutely, and share your message. It is hugely important. Yes.
Yeah, I think, you know, part of my issue with doctors and the media is, you know, should they be celebrities? Should they entertain, or should they be thought leaders and be, you know, the boring scientists that they are, or should they get involved in social activism? So I think, you know,
or if we do all of the above, right? Or all the above in some responsible way.
It's hard. Most people don't think that the doctors can entertain them, right? Like, They don't think that they're normal
You're both
people.
very entertaining to me.
Oh, I know I am, but look at this guy though.
Please.
Dr. Saggar's like, especially me. I'm the real entertaining one here.
I mean, I'm like I said, like I tell people, I'm not only the brains, but also, the beauty
The looks.
behind the whole thing. So Clinton's more the IT. He's more the IT and technical support, really on the situation. No, but I mean, just two comments I'll make is one, you mentioned talking about standing up for racial issues and inequalities, and Clinton and I both feel very passionate about it as minority physicians that, racism is a public health issue. And, we've talked about this before, but, people may sometimes tell us, oh, the quote unquote stay in your lane. And I say, no, it's our responsibility as physicians to talk about these issues. But, you're only limited if you're just talking to patients day to day. And both him and I see a lot of sick patients in the hospital. So this is not really the time when you're in the ICU and a patient is very sick to be lecturing about or discussing socioeconomic inequalities in medicine, So that's kind of why we look at these creative outlets. Our podcast, on doing media, as a way to do something socially conscious and morally responsible, but at the same time not be dry, not be boring. We try to throw in some Friday and Coming to America references in every show we do. We date ourselves.
I love Coming to America, so you've got your gal right here.
So there you go. I mean, we throw it out there, and I think there's a part 2 coming out soon. Right? Am I right? With Arsenio Hall.
Yes,
there is. The new girl on. So here's my guilty pleasure. Your wife's is General Hospital. Mine is that franchise of Real Housewives of insert XYZ. So mine is Beverly Hills.
Okay.
And so I can't remember her last name, but Gabrielle. But she's going to be on Coming to America Part 2. So I'm there. I'm front row. I don't know about you guys.
Wow,
that's gonna be a tough role to follow though, because Coming to America Part 1, the first one, original, was really quite, in my mind, a perfect movie. So.
It was pretty perfect, I will say.
but I think we're our challenge is the role of doctors. Do you think people want to hear something outside of the office as far as something informative? Like when you turn on the TV, you want to be entertained. You don't want to hear about illness and all that stuff. Even when we do the news, part of the 2 minutes of the news is medical news, when majority of life revolves around your health. So I think there's entertainment value, which it's been hard to translate that into the media.
Yes, I understand that, and that makes sense. By the way, me personally, I use the word celebrity, thought leader, subject matter expert, celebrity go-to expert interchangeably. So I personally don't make a distinction, because when I train doctors, nurses, lawyers, you name it, the idea is to be a celebrity in your industry, not necessarily that when you walk out to a restaurant, you'll be bombarded by fans, right? A la Dr. Oz, maybe. So it could get to that level, but not necessarily. But I do think that there is a role for physicians and there are healthcare disparities. We know this, and it does impact the medical process. I've lived it personally, and so I think it's important to voice that. And yes, and the other thing is, yes, when we're on TV, it is a fine line between educating and entertaining.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
You both mastered it, so. You guys have.
Well, I think no one wants to see their doctor on there doing stand-up comedy, right? But at the same time, there's no reason they want to have a physician who can relate. And both our backgrounds, right? I mean, I'm a son of immigrant physicians. Clinton is a minority, but I find that with our own personal experiences, you can relate to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. And I also grew up in the South in a small town, so I kind of have that. It's kind of like. But then I went to school
Maryland.
in big cities. Southern Maryland, man. It was the South. That's the South. Not the dirty South, but it is the South.
That's his version of the South.
See, that's how. Southern Maryland is the South. I'll tell you. That's the
now
story
it's Southern Maryland. It went from Maryland to Southern Maryland. Okay, you're getting
sure,
south. Right. Getting more south.
And I went to school in Richmond, so see, that's the South as well. But my point is that I think people do want to have their physician that is not talking down to them, right? That's kind of the old school way that doctor knows best, father knows best. They want physicians that they can relate to, they can talk to. And so I think that's why it's important to have physicians, healthcare workers, nurses, whoever may have something some other voice they may be broadcasting out there to be able to relate to patients in a more casual manner, right? Because not in such a stuffy manner. I think that's important.
I think that's one of the ways you connect with your physician, because one of the things that I'm sure you've heard complaints, not necessarily about you, but maybe from other patients when they
Sure.
go to you, maybe as a second opinion, or they might simply,
They don't listen.
The doctor gave me 5 minutes. I know nothing about this person. So it's nice when you have that personal touch. And I think the doctor that, it's not about being a comedian, but can make you feel comfortable, because it's always kind of scary to go to a physician. If it's not a regular checkup,
sure.
It's always kind of an anxiety-ridden, or can be, experience. Right. And so I think those are some of the things that help us get comfortable and connect. And so I think that's a good thing. And it's important to kind of do that even when you have 2 to 3 minutes on camera during your segments, to kind of showcase your personality as well.
Personality and just relatability, right? I think that's important. But, not just for him and I and what we do, but I think it's really also for the patient's benefit, like you mentioned, which is fantastic. I mean, it's true. Patients come in and they may be scared, they may be anxious, and sometimes we take it for granted, and people use big words and then walk out of the room, and the patient's like, just say, so I try to be, and we both, and a lot of physicians, all our colleagues, so I think we all try to be cognizant of that fact. But you're right, sometimes we may rush through a patient experience. So I think if you can have relatability, so you're basically saying I should open up with a joke when I walk in the room, right? That might be helpful.
Listen,
I'll try.
That might work. It works for you. I think everyone has to kind of go, I mean, we say it jokingly, but everyone kind of has to go with their own personality. And sometimes that works for folks.
That's true.
So, yes, absolutely.
I want to talk about your book, Celebrity Media Secrets. And let me give the whole title: 7 Simple Steps to Present with Power, Poise, and Style on Camera, Get Booked on TV and Media, and Become a Celebrity in Your Industry. And in fact, you can get a complimentary copy.
Absolutely. So I'm happy to give your viewers a complimentary copy of my latest best-selling book, and they can text Media 101 to the number 33777, and then you just follow the prompts, and it'll be right in your inbox. So you're just going to have to put your email and name, and you'll get a free copy.
So tell us about your book and what inspired you to write it.
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So what inspired me to write it was I was hoping to be the coach, and I am hoping that I am the coach that I wish I had when I was hosting and looking for coaches and as an actress. And so I compiled a 7-step methodology to make it simple so that folks don't have to read 10 books on media training or on presenting on camera or on getting booked on TV. They just have this one source in my book. And so I just went through all of the steps that have helped me in the past. And so I can quickly go over the 7 steps with you if you'd like.
Definitely.
Absolutely. We want people to read the book, of course, but I would love, because I'll be honest, Clinton and I both just kind of showed up one day on Fox News and started. I don't think we had any preparation, So to know that these resources are out there is very important.
And the good thing is it translates to other things, right? Just when you're giving a speech in a meeting or a presentation or even just communicating.
Interviews, job interviews, whatever it might be, any way you present yourself, right? So
I love that you both said that, because I'm a media coach, but I don't stop just on camera. So for many years, I taught just public speaking to entrepreneurs and professionals over the years. And then step 2 was media training. But so it translates into your kid just graduated college, they need to present themselves well during the job interview. Or they just graduated high school, now they have maybe their college entrance interviews.
Right.
A lot of these Zoom interviews. So now in the last 4 or 5 months, we've all been thrust into going on camera, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, sure.
Right, in the form of Zoom and Skype and other video conference platforms. And so it's also how you present yourself there. And so it doesn't even have to mean you want to become a celebrity, but we are in this whole world. And I really don't think we're going 100% back to where we were ever again.
Agreed, yeah.
Yes. So, but there's there's 7 steps, and it starts with mindset, which is what we're talking about. And we talk about message, image, and branding. It's a compilation of my experiences as an actress, as a coach, as a producer, as an acting coach, because I taught acting as well. and as a corporate trainer. So I put together my corporate experience, even my experience working behind the scenes, running seminars for my doctors, as well as presenting seminars over the years. Like I said, about 14,000 people I presented to over the years. So I took all of that and put that in this book right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, have you seen a lot? I mean, now that you were talking about the COVID-19 pandemic and, of course, the unfortunate personal experience you've had with it. But in terms of work, I mean, are you seeing more and more people now reaching out to you or now understanding that, hey, this is important? I can't just, in the beginning, it was kind of fun. You show up on Zoom, no one knows what they're doing. But then you realize some people do, some people don't, some people have the dogs barking in the background, what have you. But you're right. I think with technology, we most likely will never go back. And a lot of the big companies, right, Facebook, Google, have already said, look, you can work from home indefinitely. So what should be a couple of takeaways that people at home or that are listening, may take away without giving away all your secrets about what they can do, not just in appearance, but how they can present better on Zoom, whether it's a daily check-in.
Just communicate, right? Communication is such a vital tool, and you don't have to give a TED talk, but just to be able to communicate with someone like them or whatever, it's just.
But there's some uniqueness. There's something you lose when you're not in person. So what should people know? Just some basic takeaways, that from what you should be, how you should convey yourself, present yourself in this virtual work world.
Perfect, great question. And so the first thing I would say is, I would say start with what you have. So some people are going out of their way to get webcams, and trust me, I have a bunch of them at home. I have my microphone. When tech things, there's sometimes technical difficulties, so you have to be flexible. So you can go out and get an expensive camera, but you don't need to. You can start with your iPad or an iPhone. Start with what you have. If you want to use just the webcam in your computer, you can do that as well, your desktop. But what I will say is make sure that you're looking in through the viewfinder, through the lens, because sometimes our tendency is to look right at the person we're speaking to.
Like right now, I'm looking at you, but I should be here. Okay.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we're looking at the lens. There we go.
Also, don't fall asleep. I feel like Clinton may be falling asleep. You awake over there, man?
Only when you talk do I fall asleep.
That's the time you should fall asleep. Don't listen to me, but just make sure you listen to Adel. Continue, sorry.
And so, what's another one I can share? Audio is really important as well. So make sure your audio is good. That your lighting is also really, really an important thing.
Yeah,
so
tell us a little bit about lighting, because I feel like the light
You
sometimes shines too
now.
much on my head and not enough on my high cheekbones. So how do we work about that?
we have to accentuate those high cheekbones.
We have to. What God gave us, we have to accentuate.
I agree. You have to go with your natural abilities and your natural talent and beauty. So this is good. It's very easy for both of you. So, but for those that may not have it as easy, I would recommend. So start with what you have. If it's daytime, fantastic. Just find a good light source, a big window, or a window, and you don't want to have the window behind you because that casts
in front of you, right? Okay, right.
You want the window to be in front of you to give you that light. Okay. And the other thing you could do if you want to spend a little bit more for maybe $150, or it depends. Sometimes it goes for like $99. You can buy yourself something called a ring light. And a ring light, and you can put either your smartphone in the middle of it, or you can use one that holds an iPad. So whatever is your tool of choice.
Right.
And you just have that one source right in front of you, and it's very easy because you have your phone or your iPad. You just turn the light on, you plug it in, and you're ready to go. Another thing is not to have a very busy background. So maybe find a nice white wall, or it doesn't have to be even white, just a nice plain wall. And and you can even think about what you're wearing as well. Try not to wear dark colors.
Dark colors, right.
And try not to wear white. White reflects the light and black absorbs the light. So you'll see a lot of folks on TV, and most of them, unless it's like a gazillion-dollar production, won't be black or white.
Right.
So.
These are nice tips, and it's okay to wear shorts and just be barefoot.
You have shorts on now, don't you?
Are you wearing shorts right now?
I'm not even sure. I no comment. I'm not sure.
You may not be wearing anything. Oh Lord.
Oh gosh, that's another show.
We all have to breathe a little bit, but no. But I mean, You know, I
do
mean, most of the time, I will just like if I'm doing the news, I will wear a suit, you know, because I have to top. At the bottom, I'm just wearing shorts, you know, and then I just have to remember not to stand up at the end of it, so I don't people don't see me. But
You have to remember not to stand up because that will be the end of your media career at that moment.
or the beginning. You never know, right?
Or the beginning. We'll just
can we?
Hollywood.
Wait, let me ask.
Go ahead.
How do you maintain? You're so bubbly and energetic. How do you maintain that? Maybe just your personality, but for
The high
me,
energy.
like, yeah, that energy. It's like I'll have a bad day, and then you got to go on camera, and it's like,
Thank you.
it's hard to turn that on and off. Is there like a secret, or is it something that you practice?
Yeah.
Because we initially started where you were telling us some techniques. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's really what I wanted to echo because there's times that Clinton and I are doing the podcast, but we're finishing up patients, and literally 5 minutes before we start, you know, we're just running. And then we even a couple times when we used to do it in person before COVID-19, I would show up or he would show up and just watch a clip of like
Chappelle
Friday
show or something,
or the Chappelle show or something just to start laughing. You know what I mean?
I love the Chappelle show. By the way, that's a perfect mindset shift from a crazy, horrible day or just a busy day, and to just kind of. By the way, I had. If I'm ever down, that's the one that I want to put on repeat is a Chappelle show, and I've done that. I remember having just crazy times in college, and one of my friends and we watched maybe like 5 or 6 Chappelle show episodes back to back. Shout out to Dave Chappelle if you're watching. We obviously love you.
We love you.
But so it's great that you asked that question, but it's a really important question to ask because you are busy, and most of my clients are as well. I am too. I just wrapped up another meeting about something that's very serious subject matter, and so I'm a trained actress, and so those are part of the techniques that I teach in the book and that I share with my coaching clients. And so you kind of have to. It's that mindset piece. So if music gets you kind of pumped up. Tony Robbins, I don't know if you're familiar with Tony Robbins, the well-known
inspirational speaker. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Correct. And he uses music to kind of get him pumped up and excited before he hits the stage. And
Clinton does the same thing with country music. He's a big country music fan, so he does the exact same. Which is it's surprising.
Achy breaky heart. That gets me.
It is surprising. You know, I'm more of a hip hop guy, but he's into country music.
No, you're not.
I can see that about you.
There's a lot we'll discuss later, I'm sure.
Let's talk about that off camera. I think it would be very entertaining and interesting. But yeah, I mean, whatever the type of music, achy breaky heart is one of my top recommendations. So, I mean, you were just reading my mind right there. I don't know. But yes, these are all techniques: music, meditation, prayer, envisioning yourself,
right.
And also just thinking, what is my audience expecting of me? Do they want this, doctor? Welcome everyone to Recommended Daily Dose. I'm your host. You know, it's been a long day at Holy Name, and let's go. We've got this guest. Let's talk about it.
You've seen our episodes.
No, but you're basically saying, do you want to put people to sleep or do you want to keep people engaged, right? And so that's why you have to kind of just really just.
In order to feel engaged, you have to get engaged. So even if you're I always say, even when I was a corporate trainer, I still train and I run my workshops. But even when I was training other folks' material or even my own, I would always tell my audience, hey guys, even if you're having a bad day, and I worked a lot within healthcare, I would say the last couple of years of my corporate training were dedicated to medical centers, so nurses, doctors, HR, etc., professionals. And so I would say, leave it at the door. Whatever your cares are, because it'll be back. You can go pick it up afterwards. I would say.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a good way. Yeah.
Yeah, because your audience, there's a reason that they're tuning in, not just to be informed, which clearly you're doing, or to showcase experts, which you do quite well, but also to be entertained. This is a medium where they want to be educated and entertained at the same time. And so for that 30 minutes or for that 60 minutes that you're with them, go full out and present yourself in the best light, because that is what's going to attract other opportunities to you. And
that's what's going to resonate. I like that. Yeah, leave it at the door. Yeah. I like leave Clinton at the door sometimes as well. But I'm full of one. No, but you know what? I know we're being joking around live, but I want to ask a serious question, if you don't mind. Was because obviously we're living in a strange time. In one way, a strange time, and in one way, a time where we can talk about race and racial inequalities and social justice and things like that. But is there anything that you have to, and if you don't want to answer this question, it's okay, but I just wonder, is there anything you have to coach minorities? There are specific concerns of minorities in media, I mean, and I don't know if that's even, if I'm saying this question properly, but is there any concerns or issues that, minorities need to be aware of that are in the limelight, in media, et cetera?
So that's a great question, and I've never quite heard a question like that before. But what I will say is I tailor all of my programs. If I'm coaching a person one-on-one, I'm taking everything into account.
Yes.
And one of the first things, apart from mindset and message, is their image. What is it? How do they want to present themselves to the world? Right. And that goes across all races and cultures. So what I can say is one of my first media training clients, once I opened up Celebrity Media Group, was a law firm. And they called me because they wanted me to help rebrand one of their attorneys. And she was an immigration attorney and now moving into the personal injury world. And it wasn't until after they signed the contract that they said, by the way, all of the branding and all the training that you do, I mean, you can do your training in English, but we want you to do her media assets all in Spanish. So there's a way that I know, just because I'm of Dominican descent, to communicate with the Spanish-speaking world and with Latinos. And so there's a way that you communicate to a certain demographic.
Right.
And so I think maybe that's a better way to pose it as opposed to.
I see. No, sure.
Yeah.
It depends on your audience. Yeah.
It depends upon your audience, and it depends upon what's the message that you want to impart. So regardless of race or culture, but I will say it's for me, it's always customized. So I'm looking at the person as a whole person, and when I'm coaching, I ask a number of kind of exploratory questions and assessments, and to kind of gauge where they're at and how they want to be seen by the world. And that takes everything into account, race, culture.
That takes everything into account. And I appreciate that, because I think both of us want to still always incorporate some aspects of our cultural and backgrounds, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because it's who you are, it's who he is, it's who I am, and we try to,
It's who you are. We need more of you. There's such a small percentage of physicians that are minority groups that we need your voices, and it's so imperative. So I'm glad that that's a great question that you asked, and it makes a lot of sense. So yeah,
I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Like, all this has been very helpful. I was trying to see if you could go over some videos.
Yeah.
I just want to make fun of him.
By the way.
Are we doing a head-to-head? Are we doing a head-to-head thing?
We do head-to-head. So let me try this.
Go on with first.
I hate hearing my voice though on camera. I will tell you that right now. Sure. You probably picked my worst clip. You probably picked my worst clip. Oh, why'd you pick this one?
Okay. Hot changes.
So the high-def camera.
Wait. I'm gonna pause it. Look at the fake glasses.
That's not fake, by the way. I've been wearing glasses since I was in kindergarten, just so you know.
Okay. But the suit looks good though.
The suit's on point.
Nice tie. I think.
All right.
The high-def cameras help a lot there, Stephen Dory. Stephen Dory looking good.
They're looking great. They are.
Should you do like the closed mouth fake smile, or just stare straight ahead? I don't know what to do.
Right, okay.
I'm not a big teeth smiler, so I like to keep it out.
Okay, so clearly it's very serious. Okay, you got all right. We're smiling a little bit. Okay, good.
How about the hands? Where should the hands go? Because I get low jersey sometimes. My hands, I start throwing out gang signs. My hands go every which way. So there you go. See, it starts going up and down. Is that okay?
No, that's a good. If the hands are deliberate, kind of like what politicians do, that's a good thing.
It keeps me on point. I feel like when I'm speaking, it's like my cadence. That I kind of like 1, 2, 3, whatever.
So it's good.
All right, I appreciate
so far,
that.
so good. And let's see.
By the way, I did take the liberty to watch a little bit beforehand.
Okay.
So one of the things for you, Dr. Saggar, that no.
Give it to me. I can take it. I'm a big boy.
Yes.
You can take it.
I can take it.
It's all good, by the way. So
Yeah.
I love when you said in this particular segment, when people ask me, Doc, and then insert whatever the question is.
Right.
That's a really good thing because that connects with the audience. That tells them he's not just a doctor on TV. He is actually out there in the world with real patients. And that's a question that a million patients will have all the time. So.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know, like I said,
Yeah.
him and I both are just kind of winging it. And so I just kind of made that up. I use that a lot, actually. And my thought had always been what you just verbalized, which is to kind of just personalize it, you know. And so I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's very personalized, and I can relate to that as a patient. So I love that. I love what you are wearing, as we mentioned. So the suit is on point. So the image and branding are congruent. Very nice. And your body language is good. You seem very interested, obviously, in the subject matter, and engaged with both of your interviewers, which is not easy to do. And you had a very short period of time to do that. So
we're fortunate we have a good relationship with them both. I mean, you know, on air, you know, before, off air, before and after, we oftentimes just joke around with them, and you know, and they're both very nice and very engaged. I've had my son, Clinton's had his son on set, you know, they'll take pictures of him. Yeah. So even the weatherman, you know, they're all very, very nice. Ernie Anastos, who's like a legend there, he's very nice to our kids. So we feel very comfortable.
Can we? I'm gonna move on to this strikingly handsome specimen.
Yeah, I have a bit of concern with this. I have a bit of a concern with his goatee. That's my big concern. But you're the.
Oh my gosh! Let's watch. I'm excited to see this. Okay, so ready? Let's see. Okay. Again, the suit's on point. All right. Okay.
I hate
good.
looking at myself. Jesus.
Where's your tie clip? You're missing your usual tie clip there.
Oh.
The tie looks good. So acetaminophen and cancer. Okay.
I feel like his suit's a little boys to men, but that's.
And I look very ashen, like I was playing in baby powder or something.
It looks good. It looks good. And I just from looking at the clip, image and branding on point, very engaged, very relaxed, which is good, by the way, and you're both very relaxed on camera. It shows that you've been doing this for a while, because a lot of people, they know their material, no matter what they're a physician or attorney or whatever their profession is, and they're called on to do a segment on TV, and they are so nervous, and it shows.
Yeah.
When it shows, what it does to the audience is it makes them feel uncomfortable, and it makes them question, hey, does this person really know what they're talking about? And so when you're relaxed on camera, and that comes with years of experience and or media training to accelerate that. And so that makes the person on the other end watching you on camera, watching you on TV, or watching this podcast feel comfortable. So I did take some notes. You were very engaged, well-dressed, talked about the benefits quickly, and the cons of acetaminophen and possible links to cancer. You offered some statistics as well. Everybody loves that. We like to eat up the statistics, right?
But not too many though, right? I know in the beginning I used to try to be more medically based, and you know, and I realized I had to. I hate using the word dumb down, but you know, just don't get too much into the study. Just get into the meat of the matter, so to speak.
That's right. I love that you said that, because I don't like to use dumb down, but that's what because in layman's terms, the worst
simplify everyone. Yeah.
Simplify it, exactly. The worst thing a physician can do, and I've experienced this myself, is, you know, they'll speak in medical jargon, or anyone in a specific industry that only they understand among their colleagues, and then they walk away, and it's like, no, hold on, what did you mean? What was this?
Right.
What are T cells? You know, break it down so that the person on the other end is understanding. And think about your patients, just if your patient were sitting across from you. That's how I would recommend always approaching it. But you guys did an amazing job. You don't need any help from me. So.
But the real question is, who was better? I mean, I had my own thoughts. I mean, I think the world has their own thoughts, but we just wanted to hear someone who's trained.
They used to say that the best was first, so you already showed the best clip first. I mean, let's go through that.
I think.
Am I right?
Amazing, and that's a toss-up, because you both did a beautiful job. And keep up the good work, and keep sharing this important information with our community. It needs to be shared. And I'm so glad that it's you guys on a weekly basis on Fox News. This
Awesome.
needs to.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm
we
happy.
wanted to,
I'm honored talking about.
we wanted to thank Adel Wilson for joining us. Please pick up her book, Celebrity Media Secrets. It's on Amazon, right? And you can also text the code. We'll post that below.
And where can they find you on social media, Adel?
Oh, thank you for that.
course.
Adel at Adel Wilson TV. Instagram, Facebook. Also, I just launched my new YouTube channel. So if you want to pick up some cool public speaking tips or media training tips, that's my new home to share those tips with you. And also, I'm on LinkedIn. So at Adel Wilson MA. And I hope to see you guys there. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's the pleasure. Believe me, we really appreciate you coming on so much, and especially giving feedback for myself and for lying about Clinton and making me feel better about myself. I think that's really important that he leaves.
Never lies. You guys are both amazing, but you guys are really funny. So I think you guys need to take this show also on the road when the time comes.
That would be that would definitely be in the plans at some point.
We could take it south to Maryland.
Maryland is the South. It's geographically the North. It's south of the Mason-Dixon line, but culturally it's the South. All right. So we'll debate that next time. But we want to thank all our guests. Thank all our listeners, and thank our special guest Adel Wilson for being on today. Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Until next time, I am your co-host, Dr. Suraj Saggar, with my esteemed colleague and sidekick, Clenton Coleman. Until next time, be well. Thank you, Adel, so much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.